I upgraded my wife's secret island getaway to the presidential suite. She thought she was being clever, using a fake name, living a double life while I worked late nights at home. But what she didn't know was that I was watching every move. And when I discovered who her companion really was, I realized this wasn't just about broken vows. This was about two families, two lies, and a response so calculated it would change everything. What I did next didn't just reveal her deception, it created an alliance that would bring both their worlds crashing down. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share the video. My name is Marcus, and I've always believed in trusting your instincts. For weeks, something felt wrong. My wife Jessica wasn't the same person I married 6 years ago. The changes were subtle at first. Longer showers, her phone always face down during dinner, and the most unsettling detail of all, she was humming. In 6 years of marriage, I could count on one hand the times I'd heard Jessica hum. Both occasions involved champagne and New Year's celebrations. Now, every morning felt like I was living with someone performing in a Broadway show. It didn't bring me joy. It filled me with dread, like a warning of something I didn't want to discover. The blow came on a Tuesday morning over coffee. Without looking up from her phone, she said, "I need to attend a medical conference in Seattle. It's Friday through Sunday." The way she said it felt rehearsed, like she'd practiced those exact words in front of the mirror. I work in data analytics, and I recognize patterns instantly. This didn't sound natural. "Medical conference?" I asked, keeping my voice neutral. "Since when do you attend those?" Jessica was a director at a women's empowerment foundation. Important work, meaningful results, but nothing connected to medicine. She finally looked up and flashed that sweet smile that used to make my heart race. "It's about women's health promotion. Part of what we do." The lie hung between us, heavy as a poorly buried secret. I swallowed hard and let the silence win. The following days dragged like time itself had slowed down. Thursday night, the truth became impossible to ignore. I watched her pack, and it was like witnessing a scene that confirmed every one of my worst fears. She folded black lace lingerie I'd never seen before, expensive, elegant pieces. She packed light dresses, sandals that screamed tropical vacation, and an absurd amount of cosmetics, like she was opening a personal spa. When she thought I wasn't looking, she discreetly slipped a new swimsuit into the suitcase. A swimsuit for Seattle in March. Unless Canada had turned into a Caribbean beach, or more likely, she was heading somewhere like the Bahamas. I tried to mask my discomfort and joked, "Looks like you're packing for the Caribbean, not Seattle." The blood drained from her face for an instant. She quickly replied, trying to sound natural, "You know how I am. I always overpack, and the hotel has a spa. Thought I might enjoy it." Another lie, and I felt it pierce through my chest like a blade. Friday morning, the goodbye felt like a sentence. Jessica kissed me at the door, a gesture repeated thousands of times over the years, but this one felt loaded with hidden meaning, almost like a farewell. "I'll call tonight," she said. "The schedule will be tight, but I'll try." I stood there watching as she drove off in her silver sedan, probably heading to the airport, and I was certain that flight wasn't bound for Seattle. As soon as the door closed, silence filled the house in a suffocating way. The walls seemed to press in on me. I tried to occupy myself with work, but nothing held my attention. Every minute seemed to drag me toward an abyss of distrust. I knew I was about to discover the truth I'd always feared. My mind wouldn't stop. It was like a film on repeat. Every strange detail from recent weeks, every poorly told lie, every evasive answer. By late afternoon, I was on the verge of losing it. That's when I noticed her laptop on the kitchen table, still on. It seemed almost like a gift from fate. Jessica had always been obsessed with digital security, reminding me hundreds of times about work protocols, about never leaving anything open. Yet there was her computer unlocked, screen glowing. My hands trembled as I moved the mouse. What I saw made my blood run cold. Her email was open, and right at the top of the inbox was a booking confirmation. Not Seattle, not any medical conference. It was for the Bahamas. It took me a few seconds to process. The email was addressed to Jessica Morrison, not Jessica Carter, her married name. My heart raced. I clicked the message with shaking fingers and read every line like they were blows against me. Premium ocean view suite, romantic package for couples, spa treatments for 2 people, welcome champagne, private transportation for 2 guests, over $12,000 for 3 nights charged to her personal card, $12,000 for a weekend that was supposed to be work-related. But what tormented me most was the name, Jessica Morrison. It meant she was using a false identity or pretending to be someone else's wife, someone named Morrison. The idea made me dizzy. This wasn't just betrayal, it was a much bigger lie, a staged double life, an identity created to sustain the unfaithfulness. Without thinking, I started documenting everything. I took screenshots of every detail, booking, amounts, flight number, package descriptions. I was no longer just a betrayed husband. In that moment, I felt like an investigator gathering evidence for a trial. And in a way, that's exactly what it was. When I saved the last image, something changed inside me. The pain still burned, but beneath it emerged a cold clarity. If she thought she was being clever, she had no idea of the mistake she'd made by leaving everything visible before me. The trip would only end Sunday night. That gave me 3 full days. 3 days to discover who this Morrison person was. 3 days to prepare what would be the biggest mistake of her life. Saturday dawned heavy, but inside me was an almost cruel determination. I couldn't sleep properly, and between midnight and dawn, an idea began forming in my mind. It was twisted, painful, but perfect. If she wanted to play at living another identity, I would become part of that performance. I picked up the phone and dialed the resort. My heart beat irregularly, but my voice came out calm. Good morning. This is Daniel Morrison. My wife Jessica and I have a reservation for today. I'd like to surprise her and upgrade our accommodation. The attendant was friendly and helpful. She confirmed the reservation under Jessica Morrison's name and asked what kind of upgrade I had in mind. I took a deep breath and replied without hesitation. I want the best suite you have. There was a brief pause followed by an explanation. The presidential villa, private beach access, exclusive butler, complete spa package. The price is $8,000 additional. I smiled to myself. Perfect. Put it on the card already registered. The attendant offered flowers, champagne, extra details. I requested everything. I wanted it to be unforgettable. And indeed it would be, but not the way Jessica imagined. I hung up with a strange feeling of victory. The trap was set, but I wanted more. I spent the rest of the day monitoring the resort's social media, refreshing the photo and video page, searching for any clue. Luxury hotels love showcasing guests and happy moments. I just needed one record of them. Around 3 p.m. Island time, my wait ended. A short video appeared in the stories. A golf cart parking in front of the presidential villa, and there she was. Jessica stepped out smiling, wearing a white dress I'd never seen. Beside her, a tall man with dark hair, confident smile, and his hand firmly on her waist. I watched in silence, stomach churning as they laughed together, but then the scene changed. A staff member approached, clipboard in hand, and I noticed their expressions changing. Jessica went from euphoria to worry in seconds, while the man beside her seemed confused, gesturing. It was at that instant the truth hit me. The staff member was referring to them as Mr. and Mrs. Morrison. If this man was her lover, then he must be Morrison, which meant somewhere there was a real Mrs. Morrison, completely unaware of what was happening. A chill ran down my spine. I took screenshots of everything and, without wasting time, dove into a digital search. LinkedIn, social media, any clue. It took just 20 minutes until I found his face among the results. Daniel Morrison, Regional Sales Manager at TechFlow Solutions. The profile picture left no doubt. Same man from the Instagram video, same confident smile, same posture of someone who thinks they're untouchable. But what really caught my attention was the personal information. He was married. And not just married to a woman who naturally shared the same last name. I clicked on his connections, and it didn't take long until I found her. Diana Morrison, art teacher at a public school. The photo showed a woman with a simple, sweet appearance, sincere smile, and eyes that conveyed kindness. The type of person who seemed to care about everyone around her, who remembered every coworker's birthday and probably made cookies for school parties. My heart ached for her, an innocent woman with no idea her husband was in a luxury suite in the Bahamas with my wife. While Jessica and Daniel were living stolen days, Diana was probably at home grading her students' work, trying to understand why her husband seemed so distant. Rage consumed me completely. I decided I needed to know every detail of his life. I spent the afternoon building a complete dossier, professional history, social media activity, information about his wife. Every piece of data I gathered became ammunition, part of the plan I was setting in motion around Jessica and her lover. When night came, I had enough material to hold them both accountable. But it wasn't time to act yet. This kind of situation required patience, precision, and above all, the right ally. If I wanted to bring down Daniel Morrison, I needed someone who had as much reason as I did, and that person could only be Diana. Sunday night was marked by the most difficult call of my life. I found her contact easily. Teachers usually have their information available on school websites. I spent almost an hour staring at the number on my phone screen, mentally rehearsing how to start that conversation. How do you tell a woman her husband is in the Bahamas, pretending to be married to your wife? It sounded insane, even inside my own head. I took a deep breath and dialed before courage abandoned me. Hello? Her voice sounded soft but tired, like someone who'd spent the day grading tests. Good evening. Is this Mrs. Diana Morrison? I asked, feeling my mouth go dry. Yes, who's calling? I could hear caution in her tone, so I spoke directly. My name is Marcus. I know this will sound absurd, but I believe our spouses are having an affair. The silence that followed seemed eternal. When I thought she'd hung up, I heard her breathing tremble on the other end. What did you say? She asked in a low voice. Your husband Daniel is in the Bahamas right now with my wife Jessica. They're registered as Mr. and Mrs. Morrison. I have proof. This time the silence was interrupted by a bitter laugh that hurt to hear. Of course they are, she murmured. I knew something was wrong. He told me he'd spend the weekend in Canada at a sales conference. We talked for 4 straight hours. It was like assembling a dark puzzle. Every piece she brought fit perfectly with my discoveries. Diana told me that for months her husband had been distant, always with excuses about meetings, mysterious calls, and sudden seminars on weekends. She said he deleted phone messages in front of her and justified it by saying they were just promotional messages. I shared everything I had, the emails, the resort booking, the presidential suite upgrade, the Instagram photos. When I mentioned the $20,000 spent on the trip, she was breathless. That's going to show up on our statement, she murmured. I get notifications for large purchases. At that instant, Diana accessed their bank account while we were still talking. What she discovered was even worse. My God, she whispered, almost crying. He's been spending for months. Expensive restaurants, hotels, jewelry, all with her. Then came the bombshell. Many of those expenses were made on weekdays during business hours. Daniel was meeting her when he should have been at work. My instincts fired up. I asked her to send me the statements. When I cross-referenced the dates with Jessica's calendar, fury dominated me. She was using her work email to schedule meetings, booking restaurants and hotels as if they were client meetings. She was diverting resources from the foundation where she worked to support the affair. Diana, I said, colder than I'd ever been. We have more than just unfaithfulness. This could cost her career and maybe even result in criminal investigation. On the other side of the line, her voice changed, from fragility to firmness. What are we going to do about this? She asked, like someone carrying a loaded weapon ready to fire. At that moment, we stopped being two victims and became allies. We decided to act like strategists. She would gather all financial records and statements. I would handle the digital part, emails, bookings, social media. We'd build a case so solid that neither Jessica nor Daniel could escape. I'm going to file a formal complaint with Jessica's board, Diana said firmly. Using a nonprofit's resources for personal matters is extremely serious. And I'll organize everything for the divorce, I added. Every proof, every lie, every penny spent. They created this situation themselves. The plan was simple and methodical. No confrontations, no heated discussions. Just let their own actions have natural consequences. When we hung up, we exchanged contacts and promised to keep communication open. There were no tears or desperation. Just two betrayed people united by the same objective: justice. Monday dawned like a hurricane. We'd spent the night organizing every detail, and by sunrise we had our strategy ready. It was time to act. Diana struck first. Promptly at 9 a.m. she called the credit card company and reported fraud. She said her husband's wallet had been stolen, and someone was using their cards in the Bahamas. Within minutes, all cards were blocked. I could imagine the scene. Jessica and Daniel trying to pay for breakfast at the luxury resort and receiving the first card decline, then the second, then the third. The first wave of panic had surely hit them, and that was just the beginning. That morning, I sat before my computer and wrote a formal complaint addressed to the Women's Empowerment Foundation Board. Every detail was organized. I gathered work emails Jessica had sent to cover up what were actually secret meetings. I also gathered records of meetings that should have been professional but hid her betrayal. I made sure to expose how she used the nonprofit institution's resources to sustain her own deception. I organized everything with the coldness of a prosecutor building his case. I began the document objectively. Dear board members, I write to report serious ethical violations committed by Development Director Jessica Carter. She has been using foundation resources for personal benefit. Then I attached evidence and bank statements, hotel confirmations, restaurant receipts, and email copies. Each piece of evidence came with dates, cross-references, and context. It was an impeccable dossier, impossible to ignore. Around noon, I received a call from Diana. Her voice carried contained satisfaction as she told me the credit card company had called Daniel's office. The secretary had to explain that officially, he should be in Canada at a sales conference, not in the Bahamas. His boss was already getting suspicious. Meanwhile, my complaint reached the foundation's ethics committee like a bomb. Those directors took their mission seriously and knew the director's involvement in personal scandals could ruin the institution's reputation. The investigation was opened immediately, but the real spectacle began Tuesday morning. I received a call from Jessica, directly from the Bahamas. Her voice was choked, taken by desperation. Marcus, something happened with my credit cards. They're all blocked and the hotel is demanding immediate payment. I don't know what's going on. I let her work through her own confusion before responding calmly. What a difficult situation, Jessica. Have you tried contacting the card administrator? There might have been some mistake. She responded, breathless. I already called. They said the cards were reported as stolen, but that doesn't make sense. Daniel's wallet is right here with me. That phrase was the slip I'd been waiting for. In the midst of panic, she'd confirmed Daniel's presence by her side, validating all suspicions. Daniel? I asked, feigning confusion. I didn't understand. I thought you were at a medical conference. On the other end, silence stretched for long seconds. I could almost hear her mind trying to invent an escape. It's complicated, Marcus. Can I explain when I get back? Of course you can, I replied, still calm. Actually, you might want to check your work email. I have a feeling there are important messages waiting for you. I hung up without waiting for a response. I imagined the following hours would be challenging for her, trapped in the Bahamas, without access to funds, her situation now known, career at risk. But still, it wasn't the end. Diana had planned the ultimate blow. She calculated all the affair's expenses, flights, accommodations, dinners, gifts, even fuel for clandestine meetings. She transformed everything into a formal invoice addressed to Daniel, charging his half of the marital costs. Since you chose to invest our money in infidelity, she wrote, I expect full reimbursement of your share. The deadline is 30 days, under risk of legal action. The sum exceeded $25,000. His reaction was a furious call, accusing her of being irrational and vindictive. Diana simply repeated, almost mockingly, Vindictive? You squandered our savings with another woman and I'm the vindictive one? Then she delivered the final card. Actually, you're right, Daniel. I am vindictive. I've also filed for divorce and sent copies of all documentation to your Human Resources Department. Explain to your boss why you were in the Bahamas when you should have been in Canada. 2 days later, Jessica returned to her hometown. She found our house locked, the locks changed. The property had always been only in my name, a detail she'd criticized for years but now saved me. I organized her belongings in boxes on the porch. On top of them, I left only a manila envelope. Inside, I placed my divorce petition, the complaint sent to the foundation, and a detailed timeline of her affair, accompanied by all the evidence. No words of anger, no emotional accusations, just facts. By Friday, I received confirmation. Jessica had been terminated for serious misconduct and ethical violations. Daniel had been suspended pending investigation. Both now faced divorce proceedings that would leave them with nothing they'd built. Jessica ended up staying at a budget hotel near the airport, looking for work amid the circumstances. Daniel slept on his brother's couch after losing his home, job, and marriage. I, on the other hand, remained in the house with my career, and above all, my dignity intact. I didn't need drama or emotional outbursts. I just organized evidence and let their own choices speak for themselves. I discovered that sometimes the best response doesn't come from anger, but from patience and precision. To this day, I still talk with Diana. She continues teaching her art classes, rebuilding her life with serenity. We both understand that when facing difficult situations, the most effective approach can be calmness and a well-organized record. Jessica believes she was always one step ahead, with false identities and elaborate stories. In the end, she created her own complications, one credit card purchase at a time. The foundation's investigation revealed even more. Jessica had been misusing funds for over a year, small amounts at first, then increasingly bold. What started as expense dinners became fabricated consulting fees. The situation wasn't just a personal matter, it was financial misconduct that could have seriously damaged the organization that helped hundreds of women. Diana and I became unexpected friends through this ordeal. We both rebuilt our lives not through bitterness, but through the knowledge that truth, no matter how painful, is always better than comfortable fiction. Last I heard through mutual acquaintances, Jessica had moved to another state, working in an administrative role far removed from the nonprofit world that once defined her. Daniel lost his sales position and now works in retail. Their relationship, built on deception and stolen moments, ended the moment reality interrupted their fantasy. Sometimes people ask me if I have regrets about how I handled it, if the calculated documentation was excessive. My answer is always the same. I didn't create their downfall. They created it themselves. I simply refuse to be collateral damage in their selfish story. The presidential suite upgrade? That $8,000 purchase appeared on Jessica's credit statement. In the divorce proceedings, it became Exhibit A, proof of her willingness to spend recklessly on her deception. The irony isn't lost on me. My gesture meant to expose them became the most expensive mistake she ever made. Diana got the house in her divorce, along with primary custody of their daughter, a detail I'd learned only later. That innocent child deserved a parent who understood integrity. As for me, I learned that difficult situations, while devastating, can also be clarifying. It showed me who I was when tested. Someone who values truth, who plans rather than reacts, who refuses to let emotion override justice. The locks on my doors may have changed, but more importantly, the locks on my heart became more discerning. Trust, once broken so completely, becomes something precious, something earned, not freely given. And sometimes, late at night when I walk through my quiet house, I don't feel lonely. I feel free. Free from deception, from performance, from the exhausting work of loving someone who was never really there. That's the real victory, not the documentation, not the consequences they faced, but the peace I found in choosing myself.
Keep watching our stories by clicking on one of the videos that appear on the screen, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to be alerted about new videos. See you next time.